Welcome back to the KDLT Sports Extra Points video blog. I'm the weekend sports anchor at KDLT, Zach Borg. This is our sports director and host of Calling All Sports, Mark Ovenden. We're back because it has been a busy spring sports season and a championship one to this point. A lot of stuff going on this week, but let's start off with what's been the biggest running story here the last couple weeks, the Clark Cup Finals. Your Sioux Falls Stampede are in the finals after a terrific run through the playoffs. They beat Sioux City in 5 games, including a Game 5 win at Sioux City. Then they take out Tri-City in a 4-game series in the Western Conference Finals. They'll face the number 4 seed Muskegon. You've seen pretty much every championship run we've had for all these semi-pro local teams.
No, I've seen them all.
Yeah, you've seen them all. You never know. I don't know.
Pretty much all. I've seen them all.
I don't know if the Canaries of the 50s and 40s won a title, but
that doesn't count.
Where does this one rank? This one, I don't want to say it came out of the blue, but to be the 4th seed and run through it the way they have has been pretty remarkable.
Well, 4 seeds can certainly win championships. That part of it isn't surprising. I think they were playing well enough at the end of the year to be taken seriously as a potential candidate to get to the Clark Cup Finals, but they beat two teams that had better years. I think the surprising part would be the improvement they made from the beginning of the year, where they struggled, and a lot of it is because they had so many new players. Right. I mean, they only had 4 guys back
made a lot
from
of
last
trades
year.
Too.
Made a lot of trades, made some really good trades, as it turned out. A couple of guys that were their leading scorers weren't even with them.
Right.
To start the year, and those turned out to be brilliant moves by the front office. But they played really well from, I would say, the second half of the season on. They were a really good team.
Right around New Year's is when they really started turning it up against Tri-City, I think.
And they had a really good month, the month that they were gone for the whole time. I mean, they held their own, let's put it that way. They didn't dominate that month, but the whole month was on the road. They had, 10, 11 games, whatever it was.
Summit League, when the Summit League tournament was going on in March, yep.
The whole month of March, for the most part, they were gone. And when they were down, when they didn't clinch the Sioux City series at home, I think most people thought, well, they blew their chance. Yeah. Went down to Sioux City and played their best game of the season without question. Just kind of blew the Muskies right off the ice. It was 6-1,
and it was really it was never really
6-1.
Yeah.
It was 6-1. It was that was a fair score for how the game had been played.
What's interesting, and maybe that's where this run really kind of got going. They won, and it's been kind of a weird postseason too because they've had different scheduling issues. But they had not won a game in Sioux City all year. That had been kind of their. They just didn't. They denied it and they said, oh, it's a new season, but. When you go 0 for 4 in a place, and then you go and you get in the playoffs, they won, I think, the 3rd game there also by a pretty big score. I think it was like 4-1. So they won their last 2 games in a place where they had not won all year by a combined score of 10-2, which is pretty remarkable to me when you have a team that hasn't won there all year.
Well, and then they go to Tri-City and they lose the first game. Pretty much said it was like they'd a little bit of a hangover from the excitement of winning the game in Sioux City. Got ready to play the second game, and then the ice sprung a leak. I had to drive all the way home, drive all the way back down to Kearney, and for them to turn around and win that second game at Kearney was pretty amazing. Then they came home, took care of business, won both games, and the second game in particular, 7-3. They definitely deserved to win that game, and the you could just see the exhilaration on the players' faces after the game was over.
And some of the guys kind of touched on this too. That Game 2 thing, that's where you almost kind of start to think, man, things are maybe starting to work in their favor. Maybe this is a team of destiny, because in that Game 1 they were without Dakota Joshua, who had been hurt. They had some other guys who, had they played that night, might not have played. I know they didn't like the bus trip, but I think that worked in their favor because I think it got those guys healthy.
They got some rest, and I agree with you. I think it worked out, and maybe kind of hurt Tri-City a little bit too, because the momentum of the first night's win
and Tri-City had been undefeated.
They're ready to win again. They hadn't lost a game in the postseason, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're not playing.
Yeah,
we're not playing. And so, 4 nights later, whatever it was, they went back down on that Wednesday and won the game and came back with, feeling great that they'd split the 2 games in Kearney. And and played really well at home. So now they play at Muskegon. They were actually on the bus today.
Yeah.
Drove 600 miles to Joliet, and we'll finish the rest of the trip on Friday and play the games on Saturday and Sunday. Then they're back in Sioux Falls the following Friday and Sunday, and Game 5, if necessary, is at Muskegon on that Wednesday of the final week.
And this is interesting because it's almost mirror images. These are both the number 4 seeds in their conference. Muskegon went through the best team in the regular season, who won the Anderson Cup in Youngstown, and then defeated Dubuque in a 5-game series at Dubuque in the 5th game. So almost kind of mirror images. We haven't seen much of Muskegon. These two teams played back in December. They split a series in Muskegon. The interesting thing, and of course the goal in any one of these series is you want to come away with at least a split of those first 2 games.
Right.
Muskegon has not played in the Premier Center. So if the Stampede could go and get those one or hopefully even both games, come back here, I gotta think that'd be kind of a buzzsaw for Muskegon if they come in here and there's 8,000-9,000 fans.
If there are 8,000 or 9,000 fans, there weren't that many fans.
But even the 6,000, they had between 5,000 and 6,000 in the 2 games I saw. You're coming into a building like that for the first time. I think that could be, if they could get those first games, or at least one, it could be pretty intimidating in that 3rd game.
I agree.
Well, we'll see what happens. Like Mark said, that series starts Saturday and Sunday. We'll have full highlights on KDLT News of every game, however long the series goes. Not the only thing happening, though. We got a lot of other stuff, mainly on the college level happening. And the other big story of this last month has been the Augustana softball team, who are going to begin regional play on Friday. They're hosting it at Bowdoin Field, a team that's 50-9 on the season. They're the number 1 seed in the Central Region. Like last year, coming off a bit of a tough NSIC tournament where they lost to Winona State. Hopefully they can just kind of hit the reset button because they've had a phenomenal season.
They'll hit the reset button. They didn't go into the NSIC tournament feeling like they had to win it. It's not to say they lost on purpose, because they certainly didn't do that, but I think they'll have their competitive edge back when they take the field on Friday. I just don't think they were. I just don't think they had that edge in the NSIC tournament, because it didn't matter. It just did not matter, because they're still the number 1 seed, and if they win this part of the regional tournament and they should host the super regional, because they're the number 1 seed in the region. So there are 4 teams in Sioux Falls and 4 teams in the other part of this tournament. The winners of each play in the super regional to go to the World Series.
Now, they did get to the Super Regional a year ago, and they lost that one. And, of course, you were with them, I think, 2 or 3 years ago when they went to the World Series. Where does this team kind of compare to that World Series team you saw a few years ago?
Well, this team could hit, and that team could hit. This team could hit even more. When your leadoff hitter has a school record for home runs with 22 home runs, Caitlin Nickel, that's pretty impressive. I'd say their lineup offensively is deeper than even that team that went to Louisville and lost to Valdosta State, the eventual national champs, on the walk-off home run by Buster Posey's sister.
Wow.
I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I did not know that. That was before I got here.
Before you were here.
A little bit of knowledge.
That was pretty cool. But I would say this team's a little bit deeper offensively. The only question mark, and I bring this up to Greta Milstead all the time when we have her on the radio, is do you have enough pitching? Janelle Troutman, I kind of feel like she is concentrated more on her pitching this year than she has her hitting. She's probably not going to break the record
part
for
of
home
that's
runs.
necessity. They still don't pitch to her. She does not see that much, even though that lineup now is better around her. They don't. People would rather walk her than watch her hit a 400.
That makes everybody else around her that much better, because they're getting good pitches to hit. But point being, I think she's she's concentrated a little bit more on her pitching this year than she has in the past, and she's the only Augustana pitcher ever to win 100 games in her career. Do you know that?
She's basically rewritten their record.
Yeah, I mean,
in
a
lot of
some
ways.
Great pitchers. I thought that either Julie or Katie Krauth had won 100 games, but I'd never looked. So, she's pitching really well right now, and if she's on, nobody's going to beat them. And if she's not on, the good thing is they've got such a great offense, they could still win the game anyway if she doesn't have a great game pitching. So, normally, though, the team that wins a national championship or a regional championship or to that level of competition, they have a great pitcher. So they need Janelle to pitch great, I think, starting Friday in the Central Region through the rest of the year if they're going to go far.
Augie's first game, of course, at 3:30 on Friday. It'll run the whole weekend. The championship, which could be a 2-game series, depending on how things map out, would be on Sunday. A little bit of Summit League softball, too. The Summit League tournament started up in Fargo today. it was actually delayed by rain. SDSU defeats Western Illinois. It's their first ever tournament win. They're going to play NDSU tomorrow. And USD is the number 2 seed.
State won their first ever game. Elise Itel had 2 home runs. They hit 4 home runs as a team, beat Western Illinois 7-6. That's kind of cool that they had 4 home runs in that game. All right, now USD, number 2 seed, the Coyotes. They're really good. And
record-setting offense.
Yvonne Minogue hit 481. She was over 500 for much of the year. Allie Daly, who was our Athlete of the Week on Monday,
second all-time in home runs.
She's just had a tremendous career. Yvonne's only a junior. Allie's a senior.
Matley Jones, Augustana transfers.
Matley hit just over 400. Yep. So they've got a team similar to Augustana on a different level that can just batter the baseball around the field. Maybe not as many home runs as Augustana, but they can hit. They can sure hit.
But it comes down to the same thing you mentioned with Augustana. It's the pitching, and that's why NDSU is the number 1 seed in hosting this tournament. They've got a gal by the name of Krista Menke, who is, I think, among the national leaders in strikeouts. Now, they did actually beat her earlier this year when they played a 3-game series in Fargo. It was they lost 2 out of 3, but it was competitive. So we know they can hit. It's going to be a matter of can they touch her and can they get enough pitching. But in these tournament situations, you never know. Just like another team we'll talk about in a minute, Augustana. You just never know in these one double-game elimination tournaments.
No, you don't. Again, it goes back to, like I said, with Augie. They can outscore their opponents, but you don't want to get into games. Generally, games like that don't happen in this level of postseason play. It's usually lower-scoring games, so you need your pitching. Both USD, SDSU's women's softball teams, Augie's softball team, they need good pitching if they're going to go far.
Well, as we move into some tournament baseball, the first one we got to start out is a shout out to Dakota Wesleyan's baseball team.
How about that?
Win the GPAC title. They got extremely hot at the end of the regular season. To give you an idea, by winning the title, they're now 24-24.
Well, they were 9-17.
Yeah, I mean they got. So what is that? You're talking about a team that goes
15-7.
Yeah, I mean that's an incredible run. And that title game, they came back from down 6-1 at Cadwell Park, which is not which can be a pretty pitcher-friendly park.
Right. Well, it wasn't home runs; it was key hits for them, and they were down 6-1 after a weird kind of inside the park type home run, and they just chipped away and came up with some really clutch hits down the stretch, and came from behind to win that game 7-6. So they go to the National NEI tournament as a result.
An incredible year for an incredible year for that program. The football had a good year. Basketball was a national runner-up, and now this. And even the women's basketball team actually had a pretty good year, too. So they're always good in golf. Yeah, they're always, I mean, just a great year and a lot to be proud of in Mitchell. Other baseball going on, we got the NSIC tournament going on right now. Augustana won this thing a year ago, lost a lot of their pitching, but on Thursday, after beating Concordia on Wednesday, Thursday they come out, knock off the number 2 seed Mankato 4-2 in 10 innings. Now they're going to play St. Cloud, who's the number 1 ranked team in the country. If they win that on Friday, they'll be guaranteed of going to the championship round. Nice. I mean, I know it's on their home field. This is a good run for them. It comes back to pitching. Do they have enough pitching to maybe go all the way again?
I don't know. But they've won 14 straight games. And the beauty of that is when you get into a run like that, it couldn't be a better time.
Right.
Because regardless of who you've beaten, Tim Huber would downplay that win streak a bit by saying, well, we didn't play all the top teams in there. But when you've won 14 games in a row, you really start to always believe you can find ways to win. Sports is funny that way. You can either believe you're going to win, expect to win, or you can believe that we're going to find a way to lose. And right now they're playing with such confidence that you see that. They scored 5 runs in 1 inning to beat Concordia on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, they had the 2-0 lead late in the game, and Mankato came back to tie it, went to extra innings, and Augustana still found a way to win in extra innings. So they're a team that's on a roll right now. Question is, yes, do they have enough pitching? That's a big question. I would almost say no, but they're a team that's finding ways to win right now.
And can't forget about Northern State either, who lost their opener to St. Cloud, but it was a good game. It was 7-5, and St. Cloud's got good pitching.
The number one team in the country.
Yeah, so to get 5 runs off them is pretty good.
And they had the tying runs on base when the game ended, too.
But they've come back since. They've beaten Wayne State, and then they knocked off number 2 seed and number 4 overall in the country, Mankato. So they've obviously got the tougher road to go because they're going to have to win at least 2 more to get to the championship round on Saturday. But great run for them as well.
And some clutch hits down the stretch in that win over Mankato, too, as they trailed twice in the game, and a key 2-run hit in the 7th inning put them ahead for good. And, yeah, that's a big win for Northern on Thursday night.
And lastly, we'll have the Summit League tournament here in 2 weeks in Sioux Falls once again. SDSU, we've talked a lot about pitching in this. They have the pitching, but the nice thing about them is it seems like they might have a lineup this year to go with it. They're scoring some more runs than they did a year ago. And perhaps the most encouraging thing is the way they played against Oral Roberts. They split for the season, but nearly swept him here a week ago. You got to figure at some point that's who you're going to have to go through here in Sioux Falls to get the title. So that could be pretty good. They seem to match up pretty well at the very least.
Yeah, and the chances are this might be the last one of these tournaments here in a long time.
Yeah.
Because Oral Roberts is back in the league, and they almost always win the regular season title, and that's who gets to host the tournament the following year. So, you want to come out and watch some really good baseball. Oral Roberts is not just in the Summit League, but on a national level. They've always been really good, and it's fun to watch them play. So the fact that the Jackrabbits went down to Tulsa and took 2 out of 3.
And could have swept them. They very nearly did.
Probably clearly the best series they've ever had in conference play in the Summit League.
And they're the only Summit League team to ever go to Tulsa and win a series.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Was it win a series?
It was
win
a series.
Game? Okay.
I think Oral Roberts is in a position right now where they could lose the Summit League tournament, which is what we're obviously hoping for here. We would love to see them lose to SDSU. They could lose the tournament. I think they could still get an at-large because their RPI is way up there. They've beaten a lot of Big 12 and Big 10 teams. So that'll do it for this edition of the Sports Blog. We'll be back when we're back. Enjoy all the games and have a good one. For Mark Ovenden, I'm Zach Borg.
See you later.